Welcome to So True. And today's devotional is entitled Caught in the Middle, and it comes from Nehemiah 4, verses 6 through 10. On New Year's Day, 1929, Georgia Tech and the University of California played each other in the Rose Bowl. Late in the second quarter, Roy Riegels recovers a fumble for UC, and in his excitement, he becomes confused and started running some 69 yards in the wrong direction. Teammate and quarterback Benny Loam chases Riegels, screaming at him to stop. Known for his speed, Loam finally caught up with Riegels at UC's 3rd-yard line and tried to turn him around, but he was immediately hit by a wave of Tech players and tackled back to the 1-yard line. The Bears chose to punt rather than risk a play so close to their own end zone. But Tech's Vance Murray blocked Loam's punt for a safety, giving Georgia Tech a 2-0 lead. In the locker room at halftime, Roy Riegels sat in the corner with his face buried in his hands. Riegels was so distraught that he had to be talked into returning to the game for the second half. Nibs Price, the coach, said this, "Roy, get up and go back out there. The game is only half over." Roy Wrong Way Riegels is not the only person to have faced the temptation to give up when the game was only half over. In the book of Nehemiah, we have the story of the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem under Nehemiah's leadership. In chapter 4, we read, as the entire wall was joined together up to half its height, the resolve and strength of the workers began to give way. You can read about that in verses 6 and 10 of Nehemiah chapter 4. They were exhausted by what they had done up to this point and discouraged as they looked at what was left to do. They were caught in the middle of this challenging project, and their commitment began to crumble. Nehemiah had to remind them that the game was only half over and that faith in God would see them through to victory. He emphasizes that in verses 14 and 20 of that same 4th chapter. If God was for them, it didn't matter who was against them. Halftime can be a dangerous time. Caught in the middle of something, you neither have the initial booster rockets of early enthusiasm nor the pulling power of seeing the finish post. Have you noticed that it's halfway through your car payments that the shine of that new car has truly worn off? Have you noticed that it's halfway up the hill that the kids want to turn back and go down the hill? Have you noticed that it's in the middle of the years of your life that you feel lost? Halftime is a crying and trying time, and it makes us vulnerable to discouragement and the possibility of failure. At such times, we must not become weary in well-doing, as Paul encourages us in Galatians 6, verse 9. At such times, we need to remember the impatience or endurance of Job, as James reminds us in chapter 5 and verse 11 of his letter. At such times, we need to run the race with endurance, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Hebrews 12, verses 1 to 4. Meadowlark Lemon, the old Harlem Globetrotter star, once said, "The most useless statistic in sports is the halftime score." That's good. It's practical wisdom. More than one game has been won in the second half. So here's my word to you today. Get up. The game is only half over.